Good morning, investor and JWD INFOLOGISTIcs Public Company Limited. The Stock Exchange of Thailand welcome you all to the SET Digital Roadshow Year-End Performance of 2020. The session will run about 45 minutes, including Q&A. Presenting company will start the session by 30 minutes presentation, followed by 15 minutes Q&A. During Q&A, investor may leave your questions in the meeting room chat box or use raise hand function. Then presenting company will open your microphone, so you can ask the question to the company directly. May I now invite JWD INFOLOGISTICS Public Company Limited to start the presentation, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ekapong Tangsrisangwan. I'm the CFO of JWD INFOLOGISTICS. Today, it is my honor to have a chance to present to you about our performance for the last year, 2020. So because the time is quite tight, so let us get through all the presentation, and along the way, if you have any question, please feel free to raise your hand, or maybe you can send the question through the chat box, and then we can cover that during the Q&A session afterward. So from the last year performance that we have just released not so long time ago, as you may have seen the numbers, you can also see all our information from the IR website of the company. We all prepare every information in English version so that you can trace and understand in more detail about our performance and business development during every quarter. And for this, the purpose of this presentation, I will recap for you all the important figures. In last year, 2020, the performance of the company is quite in the level of satisfactory level for the executive team. Let's say we are able to achieve the growth in terms of the revenue. We have achieved 3.9 billion baht of revenue last year, which is about 7.2% growth year on year from year 2019, which is quite a surprise from our perspective since the early next year, where a lot of investors and analysts have been asking us during the COVID lockdown situation in Q2 of year 2020. Everyone being asked how would the business going during this 2020, and how would we see our revenue and profitability will be going during the year. At that time, it is very difficult to answer the question. We actually inform all parties that we would be at best to maintain the revenue in the same level as 2019, and maybe we could experience some drop, maybe around 10% from last year. But according to what we have been doing, and the situation has been improving quite well during the second half of last year, it seems that everything has been recovering and getting back on track again, such that we can recover and grow our revenue for the whole year. It becomes that we can have like a small amount of growth in terms of revenue, which is quite satisfactory in terms of the management team. The main contribution of this growth came from various business that have quite a good impact from the situation, because actually we may think that the COVID situation has been hitting the company and various industry, but actually because JWD INFOLOGISTICS, we have been doing business in various segments, and some of those segments actually benefit from the pandemic situation. For example, the cold chain cold storage service that we've been providing to customers as one of our main pillar of revenue has been receiving a lot of new demands during the pandemic situation, lockdown, and we've been attaining very high occupancy rate throughout the year. Continuing this year, we expand additional capacity for the cold storage, and the new demand pouring in, and we are reaching actually right now the new high in terms of the capacity in Mahachai location, which is beyond what we have been doing before in the past like 10-20 years. Another business that has been receiving quite a good impact also from the pandemic situation is the warehouse, general warehouse, where we are doing most of the warehousing space in Lam Chabang Port, which is one of our strategic location. We also do the general warehousing in many other locations, such as in Thong Sam Wa, which is nearby to Bangkok area, and we also expanding our warehousing capability throughout last year and also continuing this year. Because of the pandemic situation, we've been receiving a lot of additional demands in terms of the backlog of the finished product and also the raw material that has been need for additional storage throughout the year. Also continuing this year, we in Lam Chabang space of warehouse is quite full at the moment, and we actually have the need to rent more additional space from some other partners like WHA and some other landlord provider around the area to provide additional service to our customer right now. So those are the two services that has been getting quite a big demand due to the pandemic and also the new normal situation. Last year, actually, we also have some impact from certain business segment that has been hit hard by the pandemic, such as the automotive industry and also the dangerous goods and chemical that has been experiencing some reduction in the throughput because of the supply chain disruption during the second quarter last year. But the situation seems to be improving and recovering very fast during the second half in Q3 and Q4. It is suffice to say right now that the volume of the automotive logistics as well as the volume throughput of the dangerous goods terminal has been resuming to roughly almost the normal level before the COVID situation has been happening last year. So right now, we've been quite positive regarding our performance from last year and also continuing this year. We have making a projection for our forward-looking revenue. In year 2021, we are quite confident that we will experience the revenue growth no less than last year. Actually, we have put in our conservative budget that we should have the revenue growth of at least 15%. So that is our plan in terms of 2021 that we are looking at right now. We are also looking to improve more of the gross profit margin now, because last year we have been hitting hard in some business segments such that the fixed cost of those business are still attained during the last year, even though the revenue didn't come. So if you look at the financial part that I'm going to present to you later on, the GP of this year on the average of the group has been dropping down considerably because of those fixed costs for some particular business unit that we are running. But on the other hand, this year, since every business unit has been recovering to almost normal situation, we are confident that we will be able to increase our gross profit margin from last year, and also some of other better business like cold storage and general warehousing also will experience even better gross profit margin due to increased utilization of our assets. The key performance driver that we are looking at for this year, actually 2021, is will come from two segments. One is from the existing business, and another one is from some of the new business that we have been building for the past 2-3 years, and some acquisition that we are planning right now. In the view of the existing business, we are looking at many business units as, for example, the automotive industry that has been dropping quite significantly last year. This year, as everything has been resuming, and actually from the performance that we see for the past 2-3 months of this year that we have already get the figure out, it seems that the automotive industry has been recovering very fast and very well. Actually, Q1 of every year is normally a peak quarter in terms of performance of the automotive industry. So this year remain in the same seasonality trend. So we are looking at a significant growth in terms of the automotive revenue and profitability as well from last quarter. And throughout this year, we also believe that automotive will doing quite well because there are a number of new projects that has been pending from last year and will be fully operate for our customer this year, and also some of the newer projects that we have been closing or acquiring during the later of last year will be starting very soon. So automotive industry will be recovering, and we believe that this business unit will be driving quite significant growth for our group as a whole. The cold storage warehouse, even though it has been doing very well along last year, this year we have added capacity of the building number 9 in Mahachai, which have already started operation right now. So we have additional capacity to receiving more product into our warehouse, and it is quite a good timing because of the pandemic hit during the new year in Thailand has pushed even more needs of the use of cold storage during the past 2-3 months. So it is a good timing for our added capacity to receive new storage inventory in faster than normal situation. So I think it's somehow quite a good timing in terms of opening up a new capacity, and that will bring us additional revenue throughout this year. Actually, this is also another business that we have already seen figure from January and February, and has been showing quite a good sign for the revenue. And as I mentioned earlier, we have the peak or new high in terms of the storage capacity in January and February since our started operation of cold storage in Mahachai 10-20 years ago. So this is quite a good sign during this year. We believe cold storage will be growing despite the fact that it has already grown quite good last year. Data storage is another business that we have started a new facility. This year, the new facility, ASRS Data Safe Warehouse in Suwinthabong, has already started operation right now. We have equipped the automated system in order to reduce the labor cost and operation costs in the operation of document storage. And it is started operation. Some of the product or document has already been feeding in to this new warehouse right now. So we're looking forward to adding more revenue to this business throughout this year. Another business that is very interesting to us is the logistic infrastructure, which including the rail yard management and the barge terminal operation, which the barge terminal itself has been started just around July last year, and the throughput of this business has been growing quite fast. I think we have a graph on this business, which okay, we will talk about it very soon. But for now, I just put it that the logistic infrastructure has a very good trend in terms of increasing throughput throughout this year, and it will be another one to drive the growth for 2021. For the new S-curve, we have quite a number of projects ongoing right now. We are now start to build a new warehousing to be operate at the fulfillment center. We have joint venture with our good partner, the Origin Properties. We joint venture with them as the Origin JWD Industrial Asset Company Limited to build additional warehousing using the capacity of both parties in order to expand the warehousing capability throughout Thailand and in the region more faster than what JWD has been doing in the past. And the fulfillment center is in the pipeline with Origin JWD right now that we are planning to start within, let's say, April. We should be able to start this project. We also plan to build a lot of new build-to-suit warehouse together with Origin. So the new warehousing space will be available throughout this year and next following years with Origin. And we also plan to expand more of the cold chain, especially with the cold chain express, where we have been trying to penetrate the B2C market. Last year, we have been receiving a lot of demand in using the cold chain express because of the pandemic. We have been preparing to launch this service 1-2 years before, but the launching has been rushed to a faster start because of the need of the usage due to the pandemic situation. The order of the cold chain express, the number of the order or job order has been increasing quite fast, especially during the last 3 months of last year, where we have the graph to show you also afterward. Self-storage is also another business that we are planning to expand more because it has been receiving a lot of interest lately. A lot of competitor has coming through this market, but JWD has been there for quite a while, and we are right now we can say that in terms of the gross floor area of service, we are the largest in Thailand at the moment with the 6 branches around Thailand. Okay, so let's move on to the project update. So last year, even though there are some situation in terms of the COVID, such that we need to reserve cash and being very careful in terms of the spending, we have been saving a lot of SG&A expense. Last year, we have been reducing around 8% of the SG&A comparing to 2019. But on the other hand, we still pursuing some of the project that we feel or have some solid ground in terms of revenue generation. Some of these projects has already been completed. We will show you the illustration in the following pages. The first project that we are showing here is the new automated document storage warehouse in Suvinthorn that I just mentioned earlier. This is fully complete now, and it started operation in January this year. Some of the product has started getting into this warehouse right now, and this will be the add capacity to give the document storage business unit additional revenue generation capability throughout this year. The new cold storage warehouse building number 9 in Mahachai has already also been completed, and right now I think around 30% of occupancy rate has been utilized in this warehouse already because there, as I mentioned, there are a lot of demands in Mahachai and Samut Sakhon province at the moment due to the outbreak, the second outbreak of the COVID-19 since the passing New Year. There's a lot of new demands in terms of raw material storage as well as the finished goods storage in the cold storage in Mahachai, which is a good timing of the open up of this warehousing. It will be fully operate. I mean, we've been cooling down since February, but by the end of March, the temperature will reach the optimal level, and we can store almost any type of product right now. But along the way from February to March, we have already put in around 30% of asset of the occupancy to utilize this asset along the way because there are a lot of demand that we do not have enough space to serve customer if we do not open up this new warehouse. We also just introducing one new additional value-added service for the self-storage facility, which is the Y Bank. Just started in January this year. It has been receiving quite a good response from the customer as well. As of today, around 35 to 40% is has been booked, and a lot of wine has been putting in our storage already. So we foresee that this is one of a good, very good business, and there are still a lot of demand because in Bangkok area there are only a few locations that offer this kind of service right now. So we are looking at this pilot project and possibly could expand it more in the future. This is another project that is starting the construction. We have already started the construction since around end of December last year. This is a joint venture between our cold storage business unit, or Pacific Cold Storage, together with one of our important customer in Mahachai. This joint venture called Pacific M Cold Storage will be dedicatedly used for serving this customer. So this is one kind of a special project with very high return, and IRR, the payback period is shortened because the customer's product will be putting into this warehouse once it's finished. So we do not need to build up the customer base in the traditional way comparing to the multi-tenant warehouse that we used to operate in other locations. We expect this warehouse to be completed around October this year. So we looking at this as additional growth in terms of revenue that will incur around October or November, starting from that month onward, which hopefully within this year it will contribute also to some additional growth for the cold storage business unit. This is the one that I mentioned regarding the logistic infrastructure that we foreseen as one of the driver for the growth of this year, because we have just started the barge terminal operation from last year in July, and from that you can see from the graph on the top left hand side, the throughput of the container that go through this terminal has been increasing gradually, especially for the last 3 months of last year, and continuing this year, the throughput has been also growing continuously. So we foreseen that because it will be the full year operation as well as the base level of throughput will be significantly higher than what we have achieved last year. It will be another business that will drive quite a significant growth for JWD in 2021. Also, another project that we are very much looking forward to see it grow more and more is the B2C business that we try to capture for the new normal situation. We've been looking for opportunities to entering the B2C or C2C business, the e-commerce potential in Thailand for a long time. But as you may know, we are very much keen or specialized in the B2C, B2B segment. So we've been looking for the opportunity to do so. But as you also may know that the e-commerce or last mile distribution in Thailand is really fiercely competitive. So it is very difficult for us to jumping in and pouring a lot of money into that kind of business to fight with other people in the price war. What we are doing in terms of our strategy move to capture or tap into the e-commerce or last mile delivery market is to use our specialization. So we are trying to capture only one niche market segment, which is the cold chain or temperature control product express delivery service. So we've been launching that since last year around end of Q1, and since that time, since we started by utilizing our own facility of cold chain in Bang Na location, together with the fleet that we already have, plus the fleet of our partner that is the CJ Logistics, to try to start the nationwide distribution of the cold chain delivery service. Since that time, we've been growing quite significantly in terms of the job orders. As you may see in the graph from the left or the right hand, the number of job order has been increasing continuously every month, and continuing to January this year and February this year, the order has been also increasing. So we think that this will be one of the good business that will bring more and more revenue to the company, but it is still yet to reach what to say, the break-even point, because as you may know, the margin of this kind of business is not that much. It is quite a slim business, but anyway, it also complements some of other business that we are doing right now. For example, the cold storage and some of other fulfillment facility that we are building right now will be used for utilized for more occupancy because of the additional volume we attain from the cold chain express as well. So I think it is somehow quite a synergy to our existing business that we can do, and we look forward very much to grow this business to capture the demand or potential of the e-commerce and last mile delivery, especially during the pandemic situation or new normal this situation that will come afterward. Okay, this is the Origin JWD joint venture that we mentioned earlier. We have the project in the pipeline right now. We are planning to build at least 62,000 square meter of new warehousing within this year, with the capex amount of up to 1 billion baht. It has already been planned. We are looking for additional warehousing space to be built during this year, which we will let you know as something become more solid along the way. Every quarter we will report the development of these joint venture and also some other business projects. Okay, finally. Okay, one of the things that I'd like to update you a little bit regarding our development, because as you may see, JWD has been trying to expand quite a lot during the past years, and we have been raising a lot of funds. And last year, actually, in Thailand, it is a more difficult period of time in terms of raising the debenture, because the market is not very much favorable for the new issuance of the bond. So what we have been doing to solve this situation is to offer a structured bond, which is being guaranteed. We have just announced this cooperation. It has already been signed, and the first tranche of the bond has already been issued. We have just received the good fund from this first bond issuance of 700 million baht into our bank account for this guarantee bond that has been guaranteed by CGF. With this issuance with CGF, we have been successfully rated for the bond issuance at AAA, which is helping us a lot in terms of lowering our financing costs in terms of the bond, as well as we are be able to issue longer tenor term for our bond. This one is 5 years, and the next tranche is expected to be around 9 to 10 years. So that will be one of our source for funding for additional capex investment, which will help you to understand more why we still have a lot of plans in the pipeline and where would be the funding that we're gonna use for this kind of investment. Okay, because the time is very tight, let me go very briefly regarding our figures. For the last year, 2020, we are closing at around 3.9 billion baht of revenue, with around 7.2% growth in our revenue. We have the net core profit of 290 million baht, which admittedly dropped from year 19, where we got around 362 million baht of profit. This is mainly impact due to the situation of the pandemic, but it is still in a quite healthy level, and we also plan to release the dividend payment, which is subject to the annual general shareholders meeting that will be arranging in April. But we are planning to still paying dividend in the same rate as before. So we try to be very consistent in terms of the shareholders' benefits in terms of this dividend payout that you can see consistently every year for the past 5-6 years that we've been in the stock market. We've been paying about roughly the same level of dividend payout, giving a good dividend yield for all the investor. The finance cost that we show on this page seems to be quite high, but I need to explain about this, because the finance cost that has been increasing in last year are mainly caused by the new accounting standard in Thailand. Because last year, Thailand accounting standard has been adopted, what we call TFRS 16, or about the lease agreement. So all the lease agreement has been doing in the past, if it is longer than 1 year period, it has to be reclassified and rebooked as liability and finance cost or interest instead of the rent, even though that may be classified as operating lease in the past. But last year onward, according to the TFRS 16, we have to recognize all of that as liability and interest in a similar fashion as the finance lease. So that has caused our finance cost to increase around 65 million baht last year. So if we subtract those part out, our real actual interest payout for finance cost will be around 125 million, which is somehow growth from year 19, but not that much. The reason for the growth of finance cost last year is mainly because of the reservation of cash that we've been preparing in case of the critical or emergency or urgent situation that may happen during last year, during the pandemic. Then we need to be very, very conservative. So in terms of looking at that, I think roughly our finance costs remain the same level, except the part that we reserve the cash for some urgent situation. And GFIS 16 has been carving out from all our covenant calculation for the creditor. So that wouldn't be count either in terms of the covenant check or either in terms of the finance cost, the actual finance cost that we pay every year as well. On the other hand, we have been successfully reduced the SG&A down from year 19 quite significantly. Last year we have 643 million baht comparing to around 7 million baht earlier year. That is around 8% of reduction, which reflect down directly to our profitability. Okay, I will just go through some more important business unit. About the general warehouse, as you see, the revenue has been growing quite good last year. Okay, dangerous goods terminal has been dropping last year because of the pandemic, but if you look Q on Q, revenue start to recover, especially in Q4. It has been in the same level as Q4 of year 19, so it showed a sign that it has been recovering to normal level right now. Automotive industry has been hit hard last year as well, but in Q3 and Q4 you see significant growth in terms of revenue. It start building up right now, and we believe that within the first half of this year it should be reaching at least the same level or even grow beyond what we have achieved in year 19. Talking about the cold storage warehouse, this is another good business that has been growing very fast for the past couple years, as well as last year where we received a lot of new demand from the pandemic. This is quite significant, and also this year we look forward to see additional growth because of the adding of the new warehouse building number 9 in Mahachai. Okay, transportation also growing quite good. We've been hitting somehow in certain part of last year from the automotive business unit, but at the end we recover and also growing the business quite significantly, especially in Q4. Comparing to year 19, we have been growing from that part. So we believe that this year there will be a lot of new plans for the transportation, such that it will grow significantly from last year. We will let you know more details about our plan for transportation very soon once everything become more solid. But I think it's suffice to say right now that we have plans to increase the revenue and profitability of this business unit this year, and there are a lot of plans to develop even more mode of distribution and transportation for the transportation business unit of JWD during this year. ไปต่อ จบเลย Okay, because the time is really tight. Okay, let me put about the overseas a little bit. Last year we have been receiving a lot of equity income from our Vietnam investment. They have been growing a lot last year and this year also, because of Vietnam last year didn't get much impact from the COVID situation. On the other hand, if you look at the graph for Cambodia, it's been dropping down. That is because last year the industrial estate PPSP that we holding shares cannot sell the land during the lockdown situation. They have a lot of backlog that we expect them to be able to sell additional land during year 21 right now. So despite the fact that it's been dropping down, that this temporary situation came from the lockdown situation. In year 2021, if everything start recover and the traveling can be done and foreigner can getting into Cambodia, we expect that the land sale will resume again, and equity income or profit sharing from this business and also our logistic business in Cambodia will be getting back to the normal level. Net profit. Okay, for the net profit, as I mentioned, we have 290 million baht last year. In Q4, we are also growing from Q3. So if you look for the past year, you see that we are growing every quarter, and we believe that this Q1, Q2, and throughout this year, we will be able to grow more and more net profit in every quarter because of our plan that we have been putting right now, and also the development of every business. both the one that are recovering and the one that is developing more after the pandemic situation. Okay, the covenant, as I mentioned, you see that the debt to equity ratio or interest bearing debt to equity seems to be high last year, but we need to remove the orange box out of the equation because we have already carved out all those parts that was the effect from TFRS 16 from the covenant calculation from all our creditors. So it means that roughly our debt to equity ratio remains the same level as year 2019. Yeah. And the cash flow has been quite healthy. Last year, we've been reserving a lot of cash. By the end of last year, we have around 800 million baht cash in reserve, which is ready to be used for some investment during this year to increase the growth of the company. So those are the summary that we have for the presentation. We have been using quite some time now. Let me quickly go to the Q&A session. There are 3 questions on the chat box right now. Let me go through it for you. The first one, can you please explain why the dangerous goods gross profit margin decreased during year 2020? Last year, as I mentioned, one of the businesses has been hit hard by the pandemic was the dangerous goods and chemicals. The supply chain has been disrupted during Q2 and Q3, and the throughput volume that had been passing through our terminal has been decreasing. I'm sure กลับไปหน้า DG. Okay, if we looking at the figures for the dangerous goods terminal in the bottom of this page, you see that the throughput for this year has been dropping down and start to recover. You see in Q3 the throughput is around 39,000 cube during that quarter and has been recovering to around 41,000 in Q4, which is still somehow lower than what we achieved in year 2019. So our gross profit margin is very much dependent on the utilization or the throughput of this terminal because there are a lot of fixed costs in this operation, such as the maintenance of the yard, the maintenance of the restacker and all the equipment and all those things. So, and also the labor and all the depreciation. It seems that if we can increase the throughput gradually, the GP will growing at a faster rate. You can see that from the statistic that we have for the past 4-5 years that we've been reporting the figures. But last year, since the throughput has been dropping quite significant, therefore the average GP of last year has been dropping down to around 40%. But if you look into quarter by quarter, you see that even though in Q3 last year we have the GP around 38%, in Q4 on the other hand, once the throughput start to recover, we come back to the GP level of around 47-48%, which is quite healthy. So it very much dependent on the utilization and the throughput. And as we foreseen from the first 2 months of this year, it seems that the throughput in number of the tube that has been going through our terminal has been growing. It is quite in a good number, so we are quite confident that when closing this Q1, the figure in terms of the throughput should be at least in the same level of what we have been achieving in year 2019, and that would means that the GP will be growing from what we achieved on average last year. The next question will be, where will capital be mostly allocated among the business over the medium term? I would say mostly we will invest in more hard assets, especially the cold storage. The dangerous goods warehouse would not use much of the capex because we are operating in a terminal, and most of the capex that we use in that terminal would be the maintenance capex. We do not need to invest much more into the dangerous goods terminal because the capacity is still we still have a lot of reserve capacity in terms of the terminal operation in Lam Chabang. On the other hand, as I mentioned, the cold storage warehouse is quite full, and we have just opened up a new warehouse which should be able to receive additional capacity this year. But we still have plans to expand more cold storage throughout Thailand and also in the region. So in the medium term, I would say quite a significant portion of our capex will be going into the cold storage, as well as some other additional type of warehousing, such as the fulfillment warehouse, where we try to capture the demand in terms of the e-commerce, where we are trying to be playing in the field that we are very specialized on. Fulfillment center has been something that JWD has been doing for more than 10 years right now, with some of the bigger B2C customer. But we are trying to penetrate into a more smaller B2C or even C2C market right now, and developing more fulfillment center. That will be another asset that we are trying to putting our capex in. But anyway, we are, as I mentioned, we are starting a new JV with Origin Property, and with that vehicle, as a joint venture, we do not need to actually raise funds through JWD directly in order to invest into those new assets. We are able to use the JV as a vehicle to raise funds as a project finance on its own, and it will not be consolidated as a liability into JWD itself. So that will be one of the vehicles that we are used to try to giving us more room in terms of the funding and the way to grow the business further when we need to build high value capex investment in those assets. How is the container shipping congestion within the region affecting our business? It did affecting some of our business. The business that will be impact will be the business that will rely on the boxes or the container. For example, the throughput of our rail yard or the barge terminal or the dangerous goods terminal will not grow as fast as in a normal level or normal situation because of the lacking or congestion of the container. We may have some difficulties in terms of the cross-border transport that require the use of container as well, but that will be not much significance comparing to the additional demand we will receive because of the congestion of the container. Because of the supply chain disruption or congestion of the container, there are a lot of backlog in terms of the raw material lead time that they need to order, and also the finished good distribution or export that has been delayed. Those products will require additional storage space, and that is the reason why our storage business has become very good last year and also continuing this year. We will be receiving some benefit from the general warehousing business unit and also the cold storage warehouse. That will be quite a plus to the growth of these two business units as well. So I think all in all, the impact of the congestion of the container will be very high for JWD because we have certain negative impact and we have certain positive impact. So netting them out, I think at the end of the day, we should have positive or benefit from this situation. So anyway, if we can have like a more flowing of the container, we believe that that will be good for our barge terminal operation as well as the dangerous goods terminal as well. So that would be better for us anyway, even though it might reduce some occupancy rate of the storage warehouse if the supply chain has been flowing more and more later part of this year. Anyway, because of our plan of business development, including both logistic infrastructure and the cold storage expansion, we also have planned to capture more demand from the B2C business such as a fulfillment or the express service delivery, we nevertheless still expect that we should be able to grow our revenue at least around 15% this year according to plan. So I think there are some participants raising some hands. No? Okay. So do you have any additional question regarding our plan and some of the figures that we've been discussing about? Because I think we running out of time right now. Yeah, if you have any question, please go ahead.
Okay, so if there are no further questions, I think the session has come to an end. The Stock Exchange of Thailand would like to thank you, investor and presenting company, for joining us. We look forward to welcome you all again in the next quarter. Thank you very much ค่ะ
Thank you
ขอบคุณค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ